Hello, everyone. Welcome
Right.
back to another episode. What episode's this?
No one knows. 17, 16,
We've been
maybe?
doing it for a while now, but it's going good. Today's episode is going to be maybe a little bit shorter,
Let's
but
keep
yeah,
it
we're going to
to
cover new things. We've got a new camera. We've
Yeah.
got some questions that we sent out. Well, we did like a Q&A on Instagram.
We got some questions. I think we're just going to answer one, though, aren't we?
Yeah,
We'll be here forever.
yeah. Someone wanted to know how old we were, but 31.
I'm 38. That's
Done. One question in particular is, we feel like we can have a little bit of chat about that. Should we do that first?
Yeah, go on then.
Do you want to say who it's from? Because it's from one of our boys, isn't it?
Yeah, all right. It's from Yushy.
That's his Instagram handle. Bit of editing for you there.
Cut that out. Yeah, what did he ask us?
So he asked us, what is the best focal length? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry. What is the best focal length to shoot street photography on?
Yeah. So the answer is... Okay, so I think the answer is 40 mil. But in the absence of not that many 40 mil lenses out there, it's 35 mil. And the reason for it being 35 mil is because 50 mil is the best focal length objectively that anyone can use for anything. And when you nail a street photo using 50 mil lens, it just looks killer. But sometimes you see a shot and you look through your camera with a 50 mil lens and you're a bit like, oh wow, actually that's a bit tighter than I thought it was going to be. And when you use 35 mil or 40 mil, it's like, oh, actually I've got a little bit more room than I thought I did, and you can get a little bit closer. But if you don't get close enough, it's fine. It still looks really good. Whereas I think with a 28 mil, sometimes you see a shot, and I know like 28 mil is the classic street focal length, I think, that a lot of people go for. It's really wide. It kind of makes it harder to miss a shot. But sometimes you see a shot with a 28 mil and you're like, oh yeah, great. And when you hold your camera up, it's like, oh, right, okay. There's so much else that you hadn't kind of noticed.
Yeah, there's a lot of space. It's hard to look through a 28 mil, and I don't know, unless you're really close. If you're up close, like like Yushy does, I bet he shoots a lot of 28 mil because he's in those like protests or at a rave or whatever it might be. If you're surrounded by people, I think the 28 mil works well because you don't really have to think too much about all the space you've got going on because you're already close enough. If you're kind of just walking around the streets from a bit of a distance, then yeah, I'd 100% agree.
David, do you remember when I was like, oh, look, there's a guy there on the ladder and you could see the bottom of his legs and he was obscured. Yeah. But when I looked through the camera, it's like, it didn't work. He needed to be like a lot closer. And we started walking forward and like, and he climbed off the ladder and it was like, we missed it. And it would have been too far away to kind of take it and crop it, I think.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it's all kind of like personal opinion, isn't it? But I also think that it also depends on the format you're shooting, because if you're shooting film, then you kind of ideally, well, again, it's personal opinion, but I would agree with you. I'd shoot 35 mil, 50, probably 50 mil.
I mean, so saying that, I don't have any 35 mil lenses. I shoot everything in 50, so I kind of, but I've sort of changed my mind. But
well, I honestly thought you were going to say 28 mil, but saying that, like I said, when we went out the other day, we shot the Ricoh GR2, and I would only shoot that 28 mil and just crop it.
But that's
Sometimes I'd even take a shot knowing I'm going to crop it. Do you know what I mean? Well, probably more often than not, I would take the photo knowing I'm going to crop it.
But that's a fixed lens, isn't it? So if you're shooting 35 mil on that, you're just cropping your sensor.
Yeah.
But
I also like 35 mil as well because it's probably the most true you can get to your own eye. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're shooting.
I think 50 mil is personally.
Do you reckon?
Yeah. I think 50 mil's like that's
You
what
guys
you see.
think?
Huh? Yeah.
You guys think?
But I would say as well, it's not just about what format you're shooting, it's where you are. Like you've just said, going to raves or protests, you need a wider lens. If you're
Yeah, if you're
close.
surrounded by people, whether it be a football match,
But
gig,
talking
or
about
whatever.
street,
Yeah, exactly.
it depends where you are. Like, so if you're in a busy city, you probably would shoot a wider lens because you've got lots of people walking past. And I'd say it's probably quite easy to get some really up close photos of people, and you're a lot more anonymous. Whereas when you're in a town like Northampton, where it's not always very busy, and you do stick out like a sore thumb, standing there waiting for somebody to walk past you with a camera. Like you can stand on the main road in Northampton and in the middle of the day and be like, just really need someone to walk past to make this an interesting shot. And you can wait for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's...
Well, that kind of reminds me, it's not out yet. So me and Luke did a photo challenge the other day, which the video will be coming out probably next week. Or Sunday after this video, because this comes out Wednesday. So this video might come out Sunday.
Yeah.
No pressure, mate.
Yeah.
But we set ourselves a challenge to take as many street photos. Basically, we set a challenge using the Ricoh GR2 to go out and see what we could take within 20 minutes. But like you said, we're in a smaller town. So sometimes you can visualize, or you come across a certain location, you're like, oh, I can see this working well with someone walking past. But you could be waiting there for a long time to get that shot. When really, if you, like you said, if you're in a city, you kind of, I think if you're in a city, like, let's just say London for argument's sake, you sometimes see a shot because you've seen someone walk past, and then it's just a case of framing it and taking it. Where in a smaller town or quieter place, you kind of have to visualize what it's going to be and then wait for it to happen and then hope it looks all right.
And then someone walks past and goes, oh, and you have to go, no, it's all right. You keep going. It's fine.
Yeah.
And you have that conversation about 20 times every time you go out.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you just keep going so I can take a photo of you. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
So it does depend on where you are. If I live somewhere busier, maybe I'd say something like that. But no, I just love...
It'd be interesting to see. I don't know if you're listening to this or watching it. Let us know where you're from. If if you're into street photography, let us know where you're from, what kind of photos you take, or what you look out for, because it'd be intriguing to find out people's opinion on that, because we're from a smaller town, right? So we've got this certain opinion. So it'd be nice to see what people think that live other places.
Yeah, I just love the look that the 50mm lens gives you. And I feel like it's harder to take those kind of like sneaky little from the hip type shots with a 50mm lens.
I guess it depends on what kind of street photography you are as well, because if you think of someone like Sean Turk, his photos are very, I don't know, like abstract almost, or there's a lot of street photographers that look out for the the dark shadows or whatever it might be, and the photos look very abstract. But then at the same time, you can have street photographers, I don't know, can't think of anyone off the top of my head, Joe Greer, just for argument's sake, who will literally just walk around and he's not worrying too much about what he's missing, as long as he's getting his subject in that photo, whatever it might be, whether it be an object or a person, in shot, because he's trying to capture a moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's lots of different types of street photography, isn't there?
And I don't know if it's like a contentious thing to say, but if you can't shoot street stuff with anything over 50mm using a long lens. I hate to be like saying this kind of thing, but it's not street photography. Using like an 85mm or a 200mm lens or something like that, and just standing really, really way back and focusing on one little thing, like someone's face, and then everything else is really, really blurred out and all that kind of thing. I'm like, I hate that sort of stuff. I'm like, that's not, you were nowhere near that person when you took that shot, and it doesn't sort of say anything. It's like, it's a well taken photograph, but it might as well be, taken in a studio.
Yeah, I think that's important to kind of remember as well, especially when choosing what size lens you want to use as well. Because I would say street photography is walking around and capturing something that's happening, whether it be not many people or nothing, or a crowded place, whatever it might be. The idea is to walk around and capture or document that moment, isn't it? Not
and being
post up and just wait for a perfect photograph. That's the beauty of street photography. It's imperfect perfection.
Being in the middle of it, being in the thick of everything, not like, I've seen a lot of photographs that you would call like street, but they're people going to protests, and fair enough, they're taking a long lens and they're standing further back and they're taking photos of like signage or people, and picking out an individual from a crowd. But I'm like, you can tell by the way that photo looks, it's taken on a long lens, and you were nowhere near what was actually going on. When you compare that to Yushy's stuff or Christian stuff, when they're like in the thick of everything.
Sorry, that was me.
I'm just going to put a photo up over the top of that. So.
But yeah, no, I completely agree, because I think it gives the emotion in the photos that you actually show. Where, like you said, if you're using a long lens standing back and you're thinking about the framing of your photo, the composition, or what's going on, fair play. It's not going to be a bad photo, but I wouldn't class that as a raw street photo. I want to feel like you're there. Do you know what I mean? I want to feel like you're either there or you're walking across it, and that's the moment you're capturing, not waiting for someone to be holding an umbrella walking past. But do you know what I mean?
This is it. I am reminded of that conversation we had about, don't tell other people what is good and what isn't good photography. Fuck off. They can do what they want. And like, yeah, but I just don't. It don't appeal to me. Standing way.
That's the beauty of photography in general, right? Everyone's got their own opinion. People like stuff, people don't like stuff. But yeah,
I'm not like a ballsy street photographer. Certainly not compared to you.
I don't think I'm that ballsy. I've got to ask someone to take a photo, but I don't know. I wouldn't flash a camera in someone's face. I'm probably ballsy, but in a respectful way.
Yeah. It's not disrespectful, but you're definitely you go further than I do to like go and take a photo of somebody getting a shave through a barbershop window, or just going up to anyone and being like, "Can I take your photo?"
Well, what's the next one? Going into the barbershop and taking a photo, but then does it become a street photo, or does it become set up because you've asked someone to take a photo and then you're, do you know what I mean? Like, that's,
well, it's like street portraiture stuff, isn't it? But it's the fact that you waited for him to look at you as well. You weren't like,
I only took 2 photos, and there was one that was kind of, it didn't come out that well, and then as I was waiting to take my second photo, he just so happened to look up at me, so I was just like,
but you took it, you didn't go. At that point, if I'd have been in that position, I'd have been like, no, I'm not going to take a photo of you.
But don't you think that, I remember saying it to you when we was out, again, let us know if you feel the same, but if you're out taking photos with someone, you have a greater sense of confidence taking the photos, because if you're on like a little solo mission, I feel like you're trying to stay in the shadows and be invisible. But as soon as you add 1 or 2 or 3 people or whatever it might be, I don't know, your confidence grows to be able to go up to someone and just snap a photo.
Again, I can go and do it on my own. Like when I lived in London, I would go to like Soho for the day and just sit somewhere for like half an hour, wait and just see kind of what happened. And people would notice and be like, "What are you doing?" But in a interested way. But like, you would just go and sit because there's so many people around. find that harder to do in Northampton or, you know, similar places. But when I'm out with you or whoever, I mean, you, because you're the only person I go out with, really. I'm much happier just strolling around.
So I feel more embarrassed standing back recording, especially when we're making videos. I don't really care, but I think that looks sketchier than just going up to someone and asking. Thanks for checking out the video. Please subscribe. And just to give you a quick update on front, we are still working hard on the website. We will have some updates for you soon. But in the meantime, please subscribe to our mailing list, follow us on Instagram to keep up to date, something like that.
I'll just use that, exactly what you just said, because that was great.
But that's what I was going to say. This would be a good question to put out. So if you are listening and watching this, what hindrances have you come across when out taking photos? Like security guards, people kicking off. What's the best excuse you use? Because we got stopped twice within about 10 minutes of each other when we went out the other day. So one security guard came up to us, and what was it you said to him?
No, so which one? In the car park?
The car park one, yeah.
So he came up and said, basically, what you doing?
Yeah.
So we're just taking a photo. I just said, I'm just waiting here to take a photo because there's a arrow on the floor, and I'm just, you know, lining up a picture. And he was like, oh, it's a government-owned building, so you're not allowed to take photos. And sort of afterwards, I did think, well, hang on, if it's government-owned, surely that means like we own it, so like we should be allowed to do what we want with it.
You weren't even in, just to clarify, you weren't in the building.
No, we were just in the entrance to the car park. And I said to him, well, we're not taking photos of the car park. We're taking photos out of the car park. I'm standing in the car park taking photos going out. And he was just like, and then you went, do you want to see the pictures we're taking? So we just flipped through a few of the photos, and he was like, oh, yeah, very nice, very nice.
Bored him to death.
would you mind just move? You know, he was very nice.
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, don't worry. But I thought it's actually quite a good thing to do, to say,
do you want to see?
Do you want to see what? Yeah, rather than immediately being like, oh, we're just, you know, taking photos, piss off. We're just like, oh, we're taking photos. Do you want to have a look?
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're shooting film,
they'll either say no because they think you're weird, taking photos of nothing, or they might be interested. And then before you know it, you've made a friend, and then you've got unlimited access to that area. The two security guards that came over to us at the theatre, we went and took photos. Is it the theatre? Yeah, it's the theatre.
Yeah.
So we went and took some photos of a theatre just because it has a nice wall outside of it. And then two security guards came over to us there. And the first thing he said was,
can I help you?
Can I help you? To which I responded, I'm all right, thanks. So I don't know, like he was instantly kind of took back by that.
Went, oh, okay. But then said, oh, it's private property. And we were like, well, yeah, like every building in the world is private property. We're
outside for a start. Yeah.
We were outside. Okay, so I was holding my camera up, and there was a bit of a wall and a ledge and and it looked quite architecturally, aesthetically pleasing. And I was like, it was too high up though. So maybe it looked like we were trying to take photos of security cameras or whatever. But he was like, oh, can't do that. And we were like, well, then you said, I just cleared up some rubbish that was outside here. And he looked a bit confused and then walked off. But it made me think, like, and we've had this discussion before, like, well, where's the line? Because if you went to the theatre with a few of your friends and came out and thought, we had a lovely time at the theatre, let's take a little selfie. Yeah. Would he come outside and be like, sorry, no, can't take photos here. It's the building is privately owned. No, of course they wouldn't. So if we're just trying to take a photo of the blank wall because it looks cool, well, what's the difference? He was wrong, like in like the legal sense of the word. you're allowed to stand on the street and take a photo of a building. If someone comes out and says like,
if that's what you guys are doing, 100%, I completely get that, because it looks a little bit sketchy.
yeah, and to
Then
be
going back
fair,
to what you said then, I think if you were generally looking to case the place out, to break into it or something, you're more likely to go there with someone and take a selfie to have something in the background than you are to blatantly walk up to a camera and just take photos of the place.
yeah, or stood really far away with a long lens or whatever it might be, or just walk past, and you'd have, or use a camera phone. So that was just sort of thinking about that. It reminded me of a time years ago. I was out with Ayush and we were in Soho and we were on Berwick Street Market, and we were kind of stood a little way back, but we were taking photos of the market traders, and we didn't realize they'd spotted us, but they were just kind of allowing it for a minute, and then we were just kind of hanging around, and we went to take another picture, and one of them just went, "All right, that's enough, lads." And we were kind of like, "Oh, right, okay." Well, that was quite nice. They weren't like, "Piss off, you're not allowed to take photos," because you are. But after a while, they were like, "Stop taking photos of us now," and that was fine.
That's a cool way of dealing with it, because and I also appreciate some people just don't like having their photo taken. So if you're, if you hear a shutter going off in your peripheral vision and you see that someone's taking a photo of you, I can even understand someone getting angry and being like, "Why are you taking a photo?" I completely get that. To which you can then have a conversation, because no one's going to like start throwing punches. Do you know what I mean?
But just
realistically.
to go back to like the selfie kind of thing, or that sense of where's the line, when we were in that other car park and we were taking photos of the
Fire truck,
fire engine, and that guy came out and was like, "You're not allowed to take photos in here," and we were like, "Well, we're taking photos out of the window."
Well, I first of all said, "Why not?" And he was like, "Oh," like he was took back, because then he starts making up rules, and he was
Yeah,
like,
because there was
"Oh,"
no signs up saying no photography.
yeah, and he was like, "Oh, it's a car park," and I was like, "Yeah, still a public car park." Like,
Well, it is privately owned. Like he is right. Like you're not. If you're inside, they are allowed to ask you to stop, because you're in. Like if you're in a shopping center, that's not. You're not out on the street, kind of thing. So he is correct, but you were packing your camera away, and I just had my camera in my hand, and he was like, "You're not allowed to have your camera in here." And I was like, "Well, we're going in a minute, so okay." And he was like, "Yeah, but you need to put your camera away." And then that got like you and I talking, and we were like, "Well, hang on, you could say that to anybody, because everyone's got a camera in their pocket on their phone." So
and he wouldn't have said anything if I could have asked him, said, "Excuse me, mate, do you mind taking a photo of me and my friend standing there?" He would have gone, "Yeah." But I get it looks a bit suspicious. But that's where there is the fine line of just someone respectfully saying, "Do you mind if I ask what you're doing?" To which you can politely and respectfully reply, or, "No, doing that here." Well, you don't know what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? Like you said, if we haven't got our cameras on us, just because we've got a bigger camera, do you know what I mean? It doesn't really.
You're not allowed to take photos in here. And I was like, "Well, I'm not taking a picture." It is an interesting sort of conversation to have. But yeah, 35 mil is the best focal length for street photography to go
Well,
wild.
50 mil.
What?
You said 50 mil.
40. 50 is the
Okay.
best, but it's easier to miss a shot. So 40 ideally, but you not all cameras you can buy 40 mil lenses for. So 35. But
Let us know what you think and why you shoot the lens that you choose.
and what have you got
Got a new toy, haven't I?
with a 35 mil lens?
With a fixed 35 mil
Yeah.
lens.
Go on then.
Here we go. Bam.
I might cut it there where you do.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Bam.
End of episode.
Fujifilm X100 F, not the V, the F. I couldn't justify spending another £300-400 for the V. I feel like the F does everything I want it to do. I mean, from the reviews that I've read, I get the V might be designed ever so slightly better, like, because there's not a lot of bad reviews about this, apart from maybe the D-pad on the back being in the way a little bit, and then the ISO, which I don't really care about. I'm more than happy to lift up a knob, change that. But yeah, I don't know. It turned up in the post today. I took about 3 photos on it just on a dog walk. So yeah, I'm sure we'll do a little video on that, saying first impressions. Even though it's an older camera, you all love us and want to see it.
Yes, yeah, no, it's great.
And then what? Yeah, so it's somewhat similar to yours. You've got like the bigger brother version, haven't you?
I think so. I mean,
I'd say that.
yeah. I don't know what the difference is, but yeah.
Well, you haven't got a fixed lens, have you?
Well, that's a good point. Yes.
Same but different.
So because I bought this lens 18 to 55 for the Fuji, which is the first zoom lens that I've bought in, well, ever. Actually. We were talking about, well, hang on. So it's 18 to 55. So that's actually 27 to 80 roughly.
Give or take.
So we were going to make a video, weren't we? About that's going to be maybe
just said we hated
using the zoom lens on the street. I haven't really got anything else to say about that. Just
so we're going to do what we said we would never do and take street photography photos using a zoom lens to see what results we get.
And you know why? I thought actually, yeah, you can. For some reason, I've got it stuck in my head that you should always use prime lenses. I like using a prime lens. I like the limitations of using a prime lens, and it's developed into don't ever fucking use anything that isn't a prime lens. And I missed that. There was a shot I missed because I couldn't step back far enough because it was the road behind me, and I missed a shot. And then I saw Josh Edgoose, Spicy Meatball, taking obviously amazing photos, and he like uses zoom lenses all the time. And I was like, of course it's all right to have a zoom lens for a bit of flexibility and use a zoom lens on the street and stuff like that. And I've been out a couple of times with it, and it's great. So
we're going to make a video, and it's going to be an attempt to be just like Spicy Meatball and see what we can come up with. They ain't going to be that good.
No. Yeah, cool. So yeah, let us know what you think the whatever, I've forgotten the question now. What's the best focal length for street?
Yeah, tell us what your favourite focal length for street is. Tell us why. And yeah, send us some examples. Why not? But maybe we'll put a little post together on our Instagram or whatever, and we'll share some of your guys' work with it.
And if you think it's all right to use a 60 or an 85 mil or a 200 mil lens on the street, then you're wrong. But prove me wrong. I think I'll go to 55 because Sean Tucker used to use a 55, so that's all right. But yeah, I'd like to see some examples that what I think of when I think of those focal lengths.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but again, if you're shooting analog, I would say it could vary more. But if you're shooting digital, then yeah, I'd agree.
Well, it's like in the olden days,
back in there,
you'd maybe have a 28, a 35, or maybe a 50 mil and a 90 mil. Yeah. And that was it. Like on an old Leica, you've got like frame lines for 28, 35, 50, 90. And that's about it.
Yeah.
And like, so yeah, I get that. You might be using a 28 for the street, a 50 for the street. I mean, you know, whatever, and a 90 for portraits and stuff.
Oh, I did say it was a Nokia 3210 before, but it's not. What is it? Drum roll, please.
Yeah, it's my
Is
Tamagotchi's gone to bed. Oh, you can't see it. He's gone to sleep. Third time he's made an appearance now. If you watch the
That's where we're at.
I don't know, whatever we were just talking about. Don't worry about it. It's gone on long enough.
Peace.
Bye.